Obamacare turns 1 year old today, and the more we learn about this monstrous law, the more we find out how it hurts businesses in America, especially small businesses. Here to discuss are my freedom fighters, Fox Business senior correspondent and my buddy Charlie Gasparino, the Agenda Project founder Erica Payne, and Reason Magazine associate editor Peter Suderman. Charlie, to you first. Businesses, big, small, banks, Wall Street. Well, doesn't this hurt them?
Well, yes, but obviously bigger businesses can deal with this better because they have more money coming in, and if you're a bank like J.P. Morgan Chase, you can feast off the government subsidies that you get to pay for
but
this.
if you're a small business that doesn't have government subsidies,
well, no, this is devastating when the rubber meets the road. Remember, the stuff that you have to pay for doesn't come yet; it comes soon.
Right.
When those mandates really kick in, and that's a couple of years down the road. And I'll tell you, I don't know. And when I talk about small businesses, I'm not talking about the guy that mows your lawn. A real small business has between 200 and 2,000 people. Right. They have revenues of up to $2 billion. They employ more people in this country than any other sector of the economy. And those are the people that are really worried because they don't have the sort of mass to spread the cost over.
Peter Suderman, when small business folks like the people that Charlie was just describing have to choose between continuing people on their employment rolls and paying for health care, what are they going to do when the government forces them to buy health care?
I think a lot of small business owners are absolutely going to look at this law and say, look, my employees can get subsidies to buy health insurance on a health insurance exchange if I get rid of their health insurance. And so what a lot of small business owners are going to do is they're going to say, look, I'm sorry, employees, I'm not going to be able to give you coverage anymore, and I'm going to let you go and get coverage that is largely subsidized by the federal government. And so a lot of people who thought that they were going to be able to keep their care, that's what Obama promised. A lot of people who thought they were going to be able to keep their health insurance, they're going to end up going through the government exchanges and not being able to keep the care that they have.
Erica, I know you wanted this. I know you're happy it passed. I don't know if you wanted single payer where the government does it like in Great Britain or Canada, but isn't this turning out to be more pain than it's worth? Aren't the unintended consequences of this? The UAW needs an exemption. The state of New Jersey needs an exemption. Harley-Davidson needs an exemption. The small business people would beg for exemptions. What kind of a law is this?
Well, I think it's been a messy process, so it's sort of awful to watch. The fact of the matter is, though, I ran a small business for 8 years, and having health care for my employees was tough, but I managed to do it. I like what this bill does for small business because it lets a business with a small number of employees pool with other businesses so they can go on exchanges and get a better rate.
But
so
they may not be able to keep their doctor or their health care provider or their health insurance if they go into a state-run exchange. And what if they live in a state like New Jersey? I'm not picking on New Jersey because its financial woes were not caused by the present governor, as we know. What if they live in a state like New Jersey that doesn't have to establish the exchange because they got an exemption from the Secretary of Health and Human Services?
Well, I think that there are some things that are going to shake out, but keep in mind that historically, small businesses have paid 20% more for health care than large businesses, and you've got to find a way to pool the cost together to spread some efficiency.
I'm not an expert at this health care. I mean, the more I read about it, the more confused I get on this bill. But I will say this. When you talk to businesses about stuff they worry about and what prevents them from hiring people, they name this bill. They talk about health care, mandates, and God knows what it's going to do to their costs in the future. They are worried about this bill. Now, maybe it's collective insanity on the part of small business. I will say this.
Charlie, I would say that I was worried before the bill passed. As a small business owner, I saw my costs going through the roof, and I am happy to have the opportunity to come together with other small businesses.
With all due respect, you're a small business owner who's an advocate for this bill. I talk to small business owners.
It doesn't change the fact that I'm a small business owner.
No, but I'm telling you, I talk to people that are
like everyone else.
I talk to people that are really worried about it. They're not insane.
Go ahead, Peter. Go ahead.
The thing about this is that small business owners, we know, based on estimates produced by people who support this law, small business owners in the 80 to 1,000 employee range are going to end up paying $14 billion in penalties as a result of this. If you want to sum up this law in 3 words, the effect on business is mandates, penalties, and paperwork. And that's not going to be good business.
We're going to go to another subject in just a minute, but won't mandates, penalties, and paperwork increase unemployment?
Of course. I mean, these people aren't stupid. I mean, when they look at this law, they say, how does it affect me? And here's how I'm going to keep my profit margins. And then they're not freaking out because they're dumb, you know, or they don't know how to read.
I want to talk about Libya and the cost of the war. So far, open-ended military action in Libya has involved launching, we all know this, scores of Tomahawk missiles that cost around $1 million each, using B-2 stealth bombers that carry a $10,000 per hour price tag, and maintaining a no-fly zone that could cost anywhere from $100 to $300 million in a week. Shouldn't that have been a consideration before giving in to the United Nations and bearing the burden of this Libyan mess? What do the Democrats think about that?
I think that we are the leader in the international community, and that we made a decision that we are going to operate as that leader. And so when a time comes where that community makes a decision that there's a problem on its hands, we need to step in and take our responsibility for it.
When you say we, you don't mean the Congress because he wrote them a letter while they were on vacation. You don't mean the Constitution because he didn't apply that. He just sent the bombers over there.
What I mean is the international community, of which we are a leader, said a civil war in Libya will be a very big problem, and it is better and more cost-efficient over the long term to deal with it now.
$300 million a week down the drain.
I just love the fact that if George Bush, if he did this, he'd be the warmonger, but Barack Obama is bringing peace to a country run by a despot.
I disagree with that,
I'm reading
the
New York Times. Read the New York Times coverage of this. It is outrageous. If George Bush started this war, he would have been crucified.
It is appropriate for a commander-in-chief to step in in a period of time.
I just wish people would be treated fairly.
Peter Suderman, where are the fiscal conservatives? Where are the Tea Party people? I know the Congress is off this week, but why aren't they howling about the Constitution, the War Powers Act? It's unlawful. And by the way, Mr. President, where are you getting $300 million a week?
Well, look, I'm very sympathetic in some ways. Gaddafi is a bad guy. But for $100 million a week, $300 million a week, when we're heading towards a fiscal crisis at home, that's money we don't have. This is a cheap war, you know? I mean, as wars go, this is relatively inexpensive. It's only going to cost us a few $billion. That's if it goes well and if we get out soon. But that's still billions of dollars that we don't have. We're headed towards a fiscal crisis.
Charlie, hold on. It is the height of hypocrisy for conservatives to sit here and say that a couple of days into a really problematic situation that has cost a very small amount of money, they want to cry foul about the use of this money when the Iraq-Afghanistan war will over time cost us $3 trillion, and we went to war unalive.
How about the principled libertarians and principled people in the left who oppose all these wars?
I think the principled people on the left I'm happy to have them have an opinion about it.
How about the fact that 3 hours into the Iraq? How about the fact that 3 hours into Afghanistan?
Gotta go. Thank you, guys. Gasparino, Suderman, and Payne. Up next, the plain truth about the destructive law known as Obamacare.